everybody, and we are here again for a new episode of the Figure Out English podcast for English learners. The transcript will be available as usual on figureoutenglish.com, as well as the learning notes and practice exercises. And let's start! Hello everybody and welcome to our new episode. I would like to remind you that we are now on Spotify if you want to listen to us there, and you can also find our channel on YouTube where I record the videos. It's not just the sound, I'm talking to you, looking in the camera, and of course we could start a dialogue there if you prefer YouTube. And I would also like to remind you that you can support our work on Patreon. If you like our podcast, we will appreciate any help because we would like to improve the quality of our podcast and give you the best experience possible in your learning English. Today we will be talking about vocabulary. I would like to teach you the synonyms and idioms about difficult stuff. So if you want to say that something is difficult for you, how else you can express your idea? First of all, let's work with this word difficult. Difficult is an adjective. So you can say it's a difficult job, it's a difficult task. English is a difficult language to learn. Yeah, this difficult identifies the noun. So difficult job, difficult task, difficult language, and so on. But there is also a noun from this word, it's difficulty. For example, when you use structures like I have, there is, and something like that, you want to say I have difficulty with English writing, for example. So if you start the sentence with I have, you can't say difficult. You need a noun here. I have a difficulty in English writing. Yeah? There are a lot of difficulties with infrastructure. There is. In this structure, you need to use a noun, not the adjective. Don't mix them up, guys. Difficult, it's the quality. It is an adjective. And difficulty, it's a noun used in structures like I have or there is, there are. Now let's talk a little bit about the collocations with difficult. How to say that something is extremely, very difficult, yeah? As I always recommend to you, if you want to check the combinations of the words, it's the best idea to use the dictionary of collocations. I recommend osdic.com. That's a very good free online collocations dictionary, and it will help you in your writing, in your vocabulary practice, because you will understand how the words live together. So yes, you can say very difficult. It's an gradable adjective. It's not extreme. It's not emotional. Well, normal structure. I can't say that you will hear that often though. So people usually say it's really difficult for me to do something. Yes, I like this extremely difficult. It's an extremely difficult job. It's an extremely difficult job, or it's an extremely difficult language, okay? And we often have these combinations. As I said to you, you can say it is a plus difficult plus noun. It's a difficult book. Also, the popular structure is it's difficult to do something. So it's difficult to learn a language. It's difficult to understand English native speakers, and so on and so on. Okay, now you know everything about this word difficult. But how else you can say about a difficult thing, yeah, about a difficult task, for example? You can say it's tough, it's a tough job. You can say it's hard, it's a hard job. And again, you can say it's a very hard job. But I like extremely hard, incredibly hard. I would say this is the most popular collocation with the word hard. It's an incredibly hard language to learn, for example. Okay? You can also say tricky, and I like that because tricky is a little bit different in the meaning.
tricky will mean not just hard for doing, but also having some interesting sides. I mean, when there are some strange circumstances, when it's not clear what's going on, so something like that. So you can say it's tricky to understand, for example. Yeah, this word is tricky to understand, or this is a tricky job to do. It means we will have to think about it. I mean, it's not that easy. Then we will say challenging. It's a challenging task. Challenging, it also means difficult, but it means that it will require some energy from you. You will have to think about it. It checks you, so to say. I mean, it tests you. That's why you can say, yeah, it's a challenging project. It means that we will have to concentrate very much and we will have to use all the energy which we have for this project, okay? You can also say daunting or onerous. And here they are the extreme adjectives. Right now, we can't say very onerous or very daunting. No, you can only say really or extremely. In general, I wouldn't recommend to use an intensifier here at all, because onerous, it's an onerous job. I mean, all the energy which I have to spend on this task, for example. Daunting, it's a little bit scary, so it's so hard that you feel scared about this task. So it's a daunting job to teach children, some people say, yeah? Working with children is not easy, really. It's extremely hard. And let's take a look at these two words. More words which are often used in the context of something being difficult. First of all, it will be complex and complicated. They look similar and people usually, what is the difference between them? So complex, meaning having a very, very difficultly organized structure. So it means, going to university, it's a complex task. I mean, it will include several stages, a lot of preparations and a lot of work. Complex, meaning difficult in structure, having very many details in the structure, for example, yeah? To learn a language is a complex task because it involves a lot of things. But complicated, right now, it's more used for emotional element of some difficult task. So you often hear when people say, well, what is your relationship like? And people will say, it's complicated. Complicated, from my point of view, means unclear, and it's very difficult to understand what's going on. So it has nothing to do with the structure. It's about how people feel about it. So for me, being a teacher, well, no, not for me, but for my mom, being a teacher seems like a complicated job. She feels that it's very difficult for her. From my point of view, I don't think so. Well, yes, it's a tricky job, but from my point of view, it's not complicated. I hope now you can feel the difference, because difficult will be a neutral word. Complex will be describing the structure, and complicated will be describing the emotions of the person who is talking about this task. And I have taught so many words today. And I would like to give you also a couple of idioms, some set phrases which you can say when you are describing some tricky or challenging situation for yourself. First of all, remember this phrase, to grasp at straws. To grasp means to catch with your hand, okay? And straw in the cocktail, yeah? When you are grasping at straws, it means that you are losing and you are trying to find the last possible chance to win in this situation. It's usually describing some hopeless situation. Well, you are grasping at straws. Well, there is no chance for you to win, okay? You are just doing these desperate movements to save the situation. So it describes something very complicated, you can say, yeah? Also, this phrase is quite popular, to tell the truth, a catch-22. When the situation is so tricky that you can't find the solution. The solution here is impossible. There are some circumstances that from the very beginning, this situation can't be resolved. I will give you this example. Finding your first job can feel like a catch-22 because people need work experience, which you don't have. And if you don't have work experience, you can't progress. So you see, it's a vicious circle. I mean, this doesn't happen because of this, but this is impossible without that. Okay, we usually call it a vicious circle. The whole situation will be called catch-22. I hope it helps, and I hope that you have found this episode very useful for yourself. So please like, share, and comment. And if you would like to support us, go on Patreon and make a little donation. We will be really grateful. And I will see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Please visit figureoutenglish.com for a free download of the transcript and learning notes. Don't forget to share and comment. Cheers!